Hey guys, Tristan Collard here for our first ever episode of American Arsenal FC. Glad to be here. I just came to the decision. I was looking around, looking through YouTube, trying to find some interesting Arsenal content to watch, and I was struggling to find anything. You get some posts from the real Arsenal YouTube page. You get some posts from Arsenal Fan TV, but past that, it just gets a little boring, just repetitive, not too much. And what I've been looking around for is a nice little ranking and rating of all the Arsenal players from so far this season, and I could not find one. So I'm like, you know what? I'll put it together. I'll make one myself. So this will be the start of a YouTube page called American Arsenal FC, and hopefully you guys like it. Should be posting video around every Friday. Hopefully should post a video pre-game, post-game type of thing for when the season starts back up again. So it's really exciting, really fun. So please drop a like and a subscription down below, and let's get straight to it. Let's go to the Arsenal ratings. So here we go. As you can see, we have the entirety of the Arsenal team right here, and of who's played this season, and we're gonna rate them based off of top class, which is obviously the best tier, very good, had bright spots, which is if they've had some good points, but maybe some not so great points, average, bad / they've been injured most of the season, or poor. And so just before we get started, just want to let you guys know it's based off of what we expect from them, or what their potential would be for this season. So what we thought they were going to be at the start of the season and how it went. So let's get into it. So first we're going to start with Dani Ceballos, the man from Real Madrid. When we signed him, everybody was super excited. Nice little loan signing. He had a really good summer season with the Spain national team. And start of the season, he had a couple good performances, specifically Burnley, where he looked like he was the man for our future. We should probably sign him in the summer. But then came a hamstring injury, a couple of poor performances showing that he wasn't exactly ready for the Premier League. And it started to look more like it wasn't going to be a great season for Danny. But then come Mikel Arteta. First couple weeks, maybe not his favorite, but broke into the side in the last couple of weeks. He's probably been one of our best players. He's really, really been showing out. So for that reason, I have decided to put Dani Ceballos into the had bright spots. Because, like I said, he's had some bright spots, but also had some not so great start of the season. So next we have David Luiz, the man from Chelsea. So this was a weird one at the start of the season. When I heard the news that David Luiz wanted to come to Arsenal, I was like, excuse me? My brother's a Chelsea fan, so I've watched a fair bit of David Luiz, and I used to laugh at him for having David Luiz, for the mistakes he made, and mostly his performance when he was on PSG versus Barcelona, when he got nagged a couple times. That just put a scar in my mind. At the start of the season, he was looking like that same old David Luiz, same old player, and probably more on the poor or bad side of the spectrum. But since Mikel Arteta's come in, I think he's probably stepped his game up. He stepped to at least an average, if not better, because he's been one of our best center backs since Mikel Arteta stepped in and showed him. Because he's a very good ball-playing center back, but when it comes to his defensive end, it's a little tougher for him. Next, we have Pablo Mari, the new man in January. Hasn't had a whole lot of game time, so it's a little tougher to rank him, but I figured he played well in his one start that he had. And he seems to be the type of player that Mikel Arteta would want in his defense. Another ball-playing center back. And I'm just going to put him at average, just because we didn't really know what to expect when we got him. We didn't really know what his future was with us. And we still don't know with the whole summer transfer window being uncertain. And along those lines, we still don't know what Pablo Mari's fate is, but I could see him being a center back in our future. And next we have Ainsley Maitland-Niles. So this is a strange case with him. So obviously he's made it clear in his time that he does not intend on being an outside back. Outside back is not the position for him. But at the same time, he's been given opportunities at this outside back position to start in Arsenal, and you can't say no to that. and he's performed well, and he's also performed poorly. And when Mikel Arteta started, he had 2 outstanding games, and he looked like that was perfect for him because the outside back cuts into the middle, becomes a midfielder, joins into play. But since then, he's been not only not starting, but not even on the bench. So that shows that there's probably been a falling out between the manager and the player. And overall, it's just not been a great season for him. So I think we go into bad for Ainsley Maitland-Niles. Next up, we have Emi Martinez. And remember, this is based off of what we expected from him. And I'll tell you what, I had no expectations for Emi Martinez coming into the season. He's a player that's never really had his chance, but he's the longest standing player at Arsenal. He's been here the longest. And he's never been given a chance. There's always been 2 goalies, whether it be Leno and Czech and Ospina and Szczesny, goalkeepers like that. But now he's been given his chance, and as a backup, sure, he's a backup, but he makes appearances in the FA Cup, makes appearances in the Europa League, and he's been looking, I think, very good. He's been looking like a quality goalie that would definitely be a starter in the Prem for one of the lower sides. So a wonderful guy to have as your backup keeper. Next, we have Matteo Guendouzi. And so this is a tricky case because Matteo Guendouzi came in, we didn't really know who he was, and he showed out and showed that he had confidence right from the start. And this season, he's came in the same way. When everybody else was doing poorly, Matteo Guendouzi was showing that he can handle the chaos. But the issue is, once we started calming down, especially once Mikel Arteta came in, and the offense and passing became more clear what we're going for, and there's less chaos, he didn't exactly know how to play without the chaos. So I'm going to put him in had bright spots because at the start of the season, he was definitely our best player. Specifically in a match like the Tottenham game, where he really was the person that pulled us back into the game. But I think we have to go had bright spots. Next, we have Rob Holding. So Rob Holding clearly has had struggles this season. Came back from an injury when right before he was in the best form of his life, showing that he might be the center back for Arsenal's future. But since he's come back from injury, he's had a couple hamstring issues, calf issues, just like other problems. And when he is playing, he does not look super match sharp. So I think I'm going to have to put him in bad/injured because obviously he's missed some games to injury, and also the games that he's been playing have not been super great. So I think that's where we're going to have to go with him. Next, we have the man Gabriel Martinelli, another man who came in not super known, not super popular. People are like, this seems like a decent bit of cash for a 17-year-old, but he's really made his mark. As a 17-year-old coming in, playing games in the Europa League, scoring goals, being our best player for a good chunk in the season there. That's really impressive. Obviously, in more recent times, there's been a little more struggle, less production, less goal scoring, but as an overall, it's been really good. So I think you got to give him a good rating here. You got to go very good, I think, for Gabriel Martinelli, because he's lost some of the production later on in the season, but he still has a lot to be desired for. He's still really good. Still had a really good season. So next we have Sead Kolasinac. Now this guy's tricky because obviously this summer we went out and we got Kieran Tierney for a sizable chunk of money, and it's been a decision to make Kieran Tierney the outside back of our future. And with Kolasinac there, the start of the season seemed like his time to show that he should be the man ahead of Kieran Tierney when Tierney had his double hernia surgery issues. But he seems to struggle whenever he gets a time. He just seems to not make much of that time. So that's obviously been an issue for him. This is going to be a problem that seems to last him for a while. Whenever he gets his chance, he either gets hurt or he just lacks too much defensively and he can only play outside wing back. So we either have to change the formation for him or we have to play someone else. And that's why he's going to go into the poor category. That's just not been a great season for him, not proven what he can provide that Kieran Tierney can't provide. So it's tricky. Next on this list, we have the man, the myth, the legend, Bukayo Saka. Wow, this man's had a season. Wow. So coming into the year, I was pretty excited about him. Like, he'd shown a little burst here and there in the last season, but he was just a youngster. This happens a lot. But this season, Bukayo Saka showed that he's a world-class talent. He's one of the best young players there is. And whether it be him playing left wing in the Europa League or FA Cup early on, or stepping into that makeshift left back role, he's really showed that he's a capable player in multiple facets of the game. His defense has a little bit to be desired for, but he's a winger playing left back. He's been so good that people are questioning whether when Tierney comes back, if that spot's even his anymore. And speaking of Kolasinac, as poor as he was, obviously he's in the pecking order ahead of him. But the fact that they're speaking of Tierney possibly being out of the side for this young man, that's saying a lot. So you know where he's going? He's going all the way to the top class, because he's just been an outstanding performer all season. Next on the list, another myth, another legend, Shrokedin Mustafi. The character, the player, I suppose. So as we all know, he's had a tough go of it at Arsenal. Last year was about as bad as it can be, about as poor as you can see from a center back. But you gotta hand it to the man. He's put his head down and he's gotten the job done this year. Sure, he had that mistake against Chelsea, but I think as an overall, I'd put him in had bright spots. Overall, he had a good season. I don't think he's an Arsenal player. I don't think he has a future with us, but I do think this year has brought his transfer value up, and hopefully we can get a decent sum back from the large money we spent to buy him from Valencia. Next up, we've got my main man, Lacazette Lacazette. As you can see by the jersey, big Lacazette fan. Always been, always will be. I'm French, so he's got that connection with me, but I gotta say, it's been a poor season for him so far. Not super great. Had injuries. I will say that. Always brings the energy when he comes on the field, but his finishing and his creation has just not been great. So we're gonna put him in bad/injured. It's just been not been good enough. When you have a man like Aubameyang as your other option at striker, and the youth in Nketiah also, it's tough to say that Lacazette's bringing something more to the table right now. Sure, he's got good build-up play, but that's about all he's providing right now. So I wanted to stay. I wanted to be the main man, but hopefully he improves in the next coming days when we come back into play. Next up, we have Callum Chambers. Now, Callum Chambers is tricky because this man came in a couple years ago. He's been here for a while, came from Southampton. Obviously, he's been here for a while because our coach, Mikel Arteta, played with the man. So you got to know he's been here for a minute. Yet he still has never been able to find consistency. Went out on loan with Middlesbrough, went out on loan with Fulham. Obviously, he did very well at Fulham at center defensive mid, became their player of the season. But still, we're not looking for him at center defensive mid. We need center backs. So this year was his chance, and he really grasped at that chance. He really showed that he's actually a quality center back, and he has potential to be our guy. He at the start of the season, he wasn't playing. Finally, Unai Emery saw he's been working hard. He's been providing all the work he can when he's in games. So he started making him the starting right back. He's clearly not a right back by trade, and he still worked his hardest. Had some good games, had some bad games. But when he stepped into center back, he became our best center back by far. And it's just really unfortunate with the injury. So I'm going to put Callum Chambers at very good. Next on the list, a lot of people's favorite player at Arsenal, Hector Bellerin. He's really Arsenal through and through. I know he didn't come from the academy, but he's come from a young age, from his teenagers, and really fought his way to the top. And obviously at the start of the season, he struggled a little bit with injury, returning from his major injury and having a little hamstring here and there. But I think he's slowly warmed into the season, and by the end of the season, he's proven that he still has what he had. The only thing lacking, maybe his pace, maybe a little bit, but that's made up for in his growth in decision making when the game time comes. And now that we have that new formation where the right back is going to become more central, we see less pace from that right back, more pace from the left back. So Bellerin's had the opportunity to become more central and show what he can do as far as passing. So I'm going to put him at had bright spots. Okay, next on the list, we have Reece Nelson. Now, Reece Nelson, he obviously had the loan last year with Hoffenheim, did very well at the start of that loan, very well, and showed people that maybe he's the next star at Arsenal. And that's why I was super excited for him this season. I had a lot of expectations coming in, and start of the season, he started a game or two. Then once Pepe came into position, he came in. And Nelson, he played okay in those games, but then Emery kind of forgot about him. He became the forgotten man when Martinelli started stepping up. Nelson was kind of forgotten about. But once Mikel Arteta came in, he really became a man that Mikel Arteta could truly trust. And I think that he's starting to show that he still has that. He still has that talent. And I think he's the perfect man for our Mikel Arteta's system. So possibly across from Pepe, possibly in the spot with Pepe that Pepe's taking right now, we will see. But I think I'm going to put him in had bright spots because although season didn't start off great, he's really come on strong. Now, Eddie Nketiah, this man was obviously on loan for the first half of the season. Looked like his loan to Leeds was a great move. Going to get play time, going to get opportunities to score goals, get league experience. But it didn't go to plan because Bielsa clearly wasn't picking him, wasn't putting him in the side, and even when he was scoring goals, it was all off substitution appearances. So smartly, Mikel Arteta called him back. And at first, when I heard that he got called back, I was thinking maybe he'd get called back and play a FA Cup, Europa League, even though now we're out of it. But he's gotten Premier League game time. So he hasn't, in those Premier League game times, he hasn't really performed super great. Missed a couple sitters in the 18-yard box. Brought good runs, but I'm going to put him at average because he's performed well, but just not good enough. Now we're going to move on to Mesut Ozil. Loved and hated by all Arsenal fans. He's going to go straight into bang average because under Unai Emery, obviously not super great. Under Mikel Arteta, improvement. Just you've seen improvement throughout. He's showing a lot of work rate, a lot of effort, but I still don't know if he's the man for our future. Obviously, he's getting up there in age, running out of contract, expensive contract at that, so we're just going to put him at average for now. Next up, we have Nicolas Pepe. Big old fee for Nicolas Pepe. Very, very large fee for a man that did not start the season off very well, I might say. Against Liverpool, which was one of the early games, he did play well. But that's because it was counter-attacking football, which is the kind of football that he was playing in Ligue 1. That's how he got his numbers. That's how he got his goals, assists. And Arsenal's just never going to be that counter-attacking side. So we've seen him slowly change his game a little bit. So it's less him drive, because there's less opportunities to drive. More putting balls in. He's gotten more assists off crosses. And I think he's really grown into the game. And I think in the coming years, this will prove great. And that's why I'm going to put him in had bright spots, because you can really see that he is a quality player. He's just not been able to put it together yet, but had good games. Next up, we have Emil Smith-Rowe. Now, this man was a very bright star. Like, the idea of who our youth might be the best player in our youth squad a couple years ago, but kind of wore away, didn't really play that much, went on loan, got hurt, and start of the season, I didn't really have much to think of him. I was kind of forgot he was there almost. But Emil Smith-Rowe has really shown that he's actually a quality center attacking mid, possibly could be our future center attacking mid once Ozil is eventually out. And he went on loan again in January, and so far that loan has been smashing. He's been playing a lot of games, been getting a lot of good minutes in the FL Championship, and that's what you need to see from your young players. And it's been looking good for Emil Smith-Rowe. Obviously, there's been a break in play, but hopefully when play resumes, he'll start doing really well for Huddersfield again, and then hopefully continue that to eventually at Arsenal. But didn't have enough game time at Arsenal, so I'm going to put him at average. Next up is a man who I think may be on the move this summer, Socrates. it's been a tough year for him. He's at the start of the year, it was him and David Luiz, and as we know, the start of the year was not super pretty. Won our first 2 games, then had a very tough go of it. David Luiz was just as much in play with how poorly we were doing on defense as Socrates, but the issue is once Mikel Arteta came in, David Luiz started playing very well, which earned him this average spot, but obviously Socrates has not improved his play. Played a little right back, so obviously that's a little tough, but he's just been outshined by center backs who aren't even doing that well in the likes of Mustafi and David Luiz, so he's going to go in poor. Next up, Kieran Tierney. Now this is our signing from the summer, and a lot of money for a left back, but we all saw the potential. We were looking for an outside back such as Robertson, such as an Alexander-Arnold. We know that outside backs are becoming a bigger part of the game, running down the wings, getting crosses in. And he was injured at the start of the season with his double hernia, and then obviously got hurt again with his shoulder. But in those 5 games that you saw, 5 or 6 games that he played, you could tell that the crossing quality was there, the pace was there. But I'm still going to put him at poor, bad, or injured because he just hasn't had enough game time. And there were a couple bad moments when he was playing. Next up comes our starting keeper, Bernd Leno. Now, what is there to say about Bernd Leno? There's a whole lot, because this man single-handedly stopped us from being in the relegation battle. Our defense was poor all across the line at the start of the season. The only person holding it back was the goalie right behind him. He was leading the league in saves, and as a top side, that tells you how bad our defense is, but that also tells you the quality of our keeper. I really think he's top class, and this season has been top class for him. I think he's probably a top 3 goalie. Alisson's probably better than him. Ederson on a good day is better than him, but his decision-making's poor. De Gea on a good day might be better than him, but other than that, Leno's there. Leno's one of the best, and he's still young, so his save-making's really saved our season. I think he might be one of the top players of the club this season. Next up is Lucas Torreira. Now, Lucas Torreira has had a up and down season. Hasn't really had any bad lows. Hasn't really had any high highs. The thing is with him is he's under Emery. He never played him in the position that we all see him to be, a center defensive mid playing the N'Golo Kante role, sweeping it up, making tackles, stopping plays like that. But this season under Emery, he never played that role. He played someone dribbling forward and back in the midfield, and albeit he's a good dribbler, but that's never going to be his best role. For 2 games there under Mikel Arteta, he started playing that position. You could tell that's where he's meant to be, but he really hasn't been showing it that much. He didn't play that well under Mikel Arteta, only had 2 good games, so I'm going to put him under bang average. Next up is Joe Willock. Now, Joe Willock had a very bright start to the season. His preseason was impeccable. His first couple games, he showed that he is a very quality center midfielder, why he's still here instead of his brother now. And although he had that bright start to the season, it really started slowing down. Just made substitute appearances, especially once Mikel Arteta came in. Ozil became a starter. Willock came on to maybe do a little energy in the last 20 minutes of the game. And sure, he provided that energy, but that energy was not enough to prove that he's ready for this level. So I do like where he is, and that's why I'm going to put him at had bright spots, but at the same time, he's missing out on some of the features of the game that I really would hope to see from him. He did score a banger in the Carabao Cup, though. You have to add that. Next up is Granit Xhaka, and Granit Xhaka has been a man under scrutiny all start of the season, and then a man under no scrutiny at the end of the season. It's really been a tale of two halves for his season so far. Obviously, he was the captain at the start of the season, but when he heard a little boos from the Arsenal fans, ripped his shirt off, disrespected the name. But after a couple games off, everybody's like he's going to get sold, possibly to Hertha Berlin. Terrible side. I don't know what's going on there. But eventually, once Mikel Arteta came in, said fresh start, gave him a chance in the side. And just like Mustafi, he'd been given a chance and he took advantage of that chance. The only difference is Mustafi didn't have a bad start to the season. That's why he's had bright spots. But Xhaka's start was really poor, really not great. So that's why I'm going to put him at average, just because they balance out. Finally, our lead striker, our leading man, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Now this man is just the definition of class. He's just a goal scorer through and through. And we saw that from him in the first year and a half, but we also saw him miss chances similar to Eddie Nketiah. But now, this season, the only missed chance I've seen all season from him is the late goal that could have won the game for us against Olympiacos. Unfortunate timing for a miss, but at the same time, he scored a bicycle kick minutes before, so I'll forgive him for that. And he's just been top class, been leading the lines of scoring, and just really showed what kind of player he is, why he's worth so much, and why there's so much debate whether we should keep him or sell him. So this is our rankings right here. This is our top class through poor of Arsenal season so far. Obviously, I hope there'll be more of this season, but you never know. And we may be looking at the transfer window to get rid of some of the poor performers. Anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's episode of American Arsenal FC. I hope to see you guys in the near future. Should be posting a video by next Friday, and I really hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe down below, and I'll see you soon.